All right, welcome
especially
everybody.
drones.
Thanks for coming. This
Like,
is
learn what
I
coordination
think the
is.
first time we've had really a workshop that's this well attended for this kind of thing. I'm really excited to share this with you guys. Mason has some cheat sheets, so if you haven't already got those, please just raise your hand, let them know. But we created this website here. It's very simple. It's just text and links, but you can click through and it's essentially a tutorial about how to use the Linux, what Linux even is, and the same for Git. So how to use Git, how to install it, how to use it in the terminal, and things like that. We may not be able to get to everything, but if not, we'll try to put everything there. So you can go back to this website, and this website will always be in that Discord channel. Do you guys see that Discord message if you're on the Discord server? You'll see it later if you don't know. But that's there for you guys, just as a reference. You can come back to this. We'll try to maintain it as much as we can. Also, just so you know, I should get this. It's Mike. This meeting is on Zoom, is being recorded, just so that people can watch this afterwards and have the benefit of hearing us talk through these things. So if the camera, you see the camera back there, the camera only sees like this. So you're not on camera. You don't have to worry about that. If you don't want to be recorded with a question or anything like that, that's okay. Just let me know on the CPT Discord if you have a question. All right. Any questions before we start? All right, let's get started. So first, you guys know what this is already. The introduction is really for other people coming to this website. So we'll start off with, what is Linux? So Linux is an open source operating system that was created, I think, what does the date say? It was a long time ago, so about 30 years. This was created by a single developer at the beginning. Obviously, many more people have joined this project, but it's essentially it's an alternative to Windows and Mac OS at some level, but it's also used very broadly in I think the web field and for servers, right? Yeah. So Linux is something that's really helpful for you guys to know at least something about. You don't have to run it every day. I do just because I like it, but it's definitely not required. Here's kind of the basics of how it works. So Linux itself is the kernel for the operating system. And what that means is it's just the low-level code that interacts between the programs you run on your laptop, like VS Code or, I don't know, the Apple Store or something. It interacts with the RAM, the physical RAM on your computer, the I/O, the keyboard, the mouse, the speakers, all of that. I/O is input output, if you guys haven't heard of that. It really just does the very basic stuff. It manages processes. That's another important thing. It keeps kind of a list of processes and tells them when to start, when to stop, as far as the calculations they're actually doing. But you need a lot of other things to actually start interacting with this kernel. On top of that kernel is a set of system libraries that give developers a lot of cool, or I guess helpful functions, like printf, for example. I believe that's part of the standard library. Things like those that you need to write productive programs are included in that library. So you're not just like changing bits, because we don't want to do that. Just leave that to the crazy people who are really good at that stuff. But that is also, it's not quite enough for an actual operating system. You also have something called the shell, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the shell, by the way, it's the shell and the kernel. That's where those names come from. It's like a shell of like a seed or a piece of corn or something. That runs on top of the kernel. And that's actually how we interact with the machine. So we'll talk about the different commands and how to navigate through that shell, or it's also called the terminal. Along with that, there are a couple different ways or a couple different programs on top of the shell. So there are desktop environments, which I'll get to in a minute. So for Windows really only has one desktop environment. That is how you see the graphical apps, the start menu, the taskbar, all the notifications. That's part of the desktop environment. But first, how do you even get Linux? So Linux is packaged in what's called a distribution. There are many different distributions out there. It's kind of, you can look at some trees about like how distributions kind of grew from older distributions all the way back to like 1990. I don't have that for you right now. You can look that up. But some of the most popular ones include Ubuntu. It's listed there. that is recommended by a lot of people. It's pretty hefty operating system in the sense you need a decent computer to run it. As opposed to like a Raspberry Pi or a single board computer. So your laptops would be fine with this. There's also Debian, which is also very similar to Ubuntu. Okay, I guess I should clarify back to Ubuntu with the fact that it's heavy. That has more to do with the desktop environment. So I mixed stuff up in my brain. I'll talk about that in a minute. But there's Ubuntu, Debian. They use the same package manager, which is kind of what sets these distributions apart. Otherwise, they all use the Linux. So it's Vishnu, if you could help whoever's there join. They all use the Linux kernel, different package managers on top of them, and they all have different features. Ubuntu and Debian use apt or aptitude in the Debian package manager. Fedora and Mint use other package managers all down the list. I'm not going to go through all of these lists because you guys can look at that later. Thank you. So these are the desktop environments that are most common. We have GNOME at the top and then KDE. I'm not going to talk with the others. You can do more research about that. Those two are the most common. GNOME is what requires kind of a larger computer with maybe 8 gigs, something like that. KDE is also pretty hefty, maybe not quite as bad. That's the one that I enjoy using, but this is a lot to do with personal preference. So when you're downloading a distro, also think about what kind of desktop environment it has. You'll see on some of the pages, you'll have the same distro like Fedora there with lists like here's GNOME, here's Fedora with GNOME, here's Fedora with KDE, and so on. All right, that is the end of the page, isn't it? I just wanted to draw your attention to one last thing. You move that a little bit.
Oh, no.
Get in between the buttons. I know, I don't. There we go. All right. Linux is used around the world at a crazy rate. Like, so here's the stat: 96% of the top 1 million web servers, which means that if you're a developer, you're probably going to run into this, right? You're going to need to use this at some point. So that's why we want to share this with you. All right, let's go on to using the Linux terminal. Right at the top. Got it? All right. So how many of you are running Windows or Mac OS? Okay, that's what I thought. So we'll need a way to get you access to a Linux machine. How we're going to do that is either through SSH or an online terminal, which I'll show you in a minute. How many of you are in a programming class that requires C or Git or Linux or any of that? Okay, so that would be your 340 and 345 essentially. All right, so you will have access to the servers on CSU that are for you guys to do your homework and things like that. This is the general layout. You guys have probably heard of this before. This particular diagram I made this morning, so it's a little bit new, but this is the cloud, this is you, or any laptop anywhere. And then we have Grail, which you cannot compile anything on because that's used for other like management kind of things. They don't want you to overload that server. There's also Spirit, which is a very commonly used server. You can access that through the cloud and you can do compiling on there. But there are other machines. So Bach 1 through 40, I think. So there's like 40 different machines. It's like Bach 1 through Bach 40 or something like that. And that range might not be exactly correct, but it's about the range. And there are a couple different labs with different names. But that is how you access, or those are the things you can access. You can scroll down a little bit. Here is your username and password. Have you guys logged into the Linux server yet? If you have access to that. Okay. I'd encourage you guys, if you want to follow along, to do that now, so you can talk through these things. How many of you don't have access to, or you're not in one of those classes? So, okay. So you will need to access something separate. This is called Google Cloud Shell, and that will allow us to at least show you some of the simple things. This is not an entire Linux environment. You won't be able to do everything, but I think you'll be able to do everything in this particular tutorial. You can access that if you go to the website. It's on that board and in Discord link. Then you click this link right here, the shell.cloud.google. The folks who can't see me pointing. I will give you guys a second to get there.
Should I just click on the
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm downloading.
Yeah, I guess I need to log into Google. I don't want to do that right now, so I will. I can SSH into.
Oh, you could.
Yeah. All right, but we're. Wasn't time. Where are you guys? Are you able to access a Linux terminal? Okay, nice. I'll walk around. You guys good? Yeah. Yes. You have access to one of those classes. No. Can you look at access, okay, so Mac is very similar. It had the all same command that was some effective. That's why I'm trying to give people access to that. Okay. so
Simon?
just do it through the Google. For now, yeah.
Simon?
Yes,
You wanna just get into your spirit?
sure.
You could talk from here to him.
Sure. All right. How many of you guys have used? So you guys hear me? There you go. How many of you have done SSHing before? All right. We have SSH here. Nice. So this will be the same on Mac OS too. There's an SSH command, and this is command prompt for you guys. If you don't,
It is a font. No,
it's just Control Plus.
should work.
Control equals. All right.
No.
Let's
No.
not worry about that right now. All right. Get on here really quick. Sure, we'll do this. CS, UT Ohio. You guys let me know if I'm doing anything that's unfamiliar, because I'm just trying to get to the point where I can show you what's going on. But all right, there we go. So let's go quickly through this. Do any of you not have a Linux access to a Linux terminal? Here, let me help you real quick.
Have lots of restrictions. Make it like a group within a group within a group. Subuser of subuser of subuser. They have to who are logged into that user, they have to type so many passwords to get to the root. It's all the same.
I thought they were slightly different.
They're all
though.
the same.
Okay.
Command and terminal. Windows has like command prompt and PowerShell.
Yeah, I always
weird.
just go normal terminal, so I can never.
Alright,
Default 12.
So what I would like you guys to do now, Vishnu, we could quickly talk through this, but I think this might be structured better if you guys work through this at your own pace, because I assume there's a pretty wide difference between what you guys know and what you don't. So start reading. Do you all have access to the website and to the all the test
Did
commands?
everyone connect to the Linux thing? Does
Uh,
everyone have a terminal open?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Vishnu, would you like to talk through some
Yeah.
stuff? Here, I'll turn that on.
Hello? Oh. So, running the first command. So this is what I call the power, you know. You see that command pwd, think of that as your power. Just everyone who are in like Linux terminals, right? Try typing that out and press enter, see what happens. Come on, someone type it out.
I typed it up right there.
You did. So you see what it printed out over there? home/students./jar Richard. So that's basically where you are at, you know. If you want to like learn where you are at, or like you're confused, or you know, to check which folder or which directory you're under, this is what you do. So since it doesn't have any UI or anything, so this is like basically your base UI, you know.
With
Uh,
Linux, you have to get used to of not having a UI, so it's all text.
I think they got that. Um, so keep going down. So now that you know where you guys are at, right? You can like move from one directory to the other. So there's something called a root directory. That's basically think of it like as the origin directory or the main directory. That's where you have like all the like files are over there. Like in your Windows, right? If you open a file explorer or something, it opens to home. You got this PC, yeah? Yeah, that's basically root directory, bro. Here you have the UI, right? Over there, that's just it just shows nothing until you type PWD or ls. So you could try, either of these. Try typing like cd dot dot or cd home. See what happens. CD means like change directory. You're just changing from wherever you are to wherever you want to go. Did you all do that? No? Yeah. Very excited. So, any doubts with that? Anyone? No? No? No?
It is important to note that the structure on Grail and all of the CSU servers are a little bit different.
It's hard, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the home directory is not directly underneath, slash home. It's
Mhm.
in slash home slash students slash.
Don't
The
clear
username.
it. So you can also like move up multiple levels. This is basically like clicking on arrows in your like a file explorer when you're in a when you're in a file when you're in a file, right? You can like it's like just like going back or front. That's about it. When you're like changing directories using the dots, if you want to go back, you do like dot dot. Go back one step. You could also use cd approximate symbol to like just jump to the root or home directory. So like all the way back. So these are all like basically relative path changing. So basically when you type cd and a name, right, it's gonna like change it based on wherever you are. Like how far are you from home or something like that. Are you nearby or are you far? That's what you're doing basically. These are called relative paths. Now getting into absolute paths, right? All of these start with a like forward slash. That's basically like the address, no matter where you are, when you give the address or the coordinates or longitudes or latitudes, whatever you guys can have it. That's what it is. Like it's absolute. So wherever you are in the like environment, like you're in some other folder or file, right? You can jump back to like some other folder or file without being in that location. Like it's basically like you're in Cleveland, and when you say like 12th Street or something, everyone like pretty much everyone knows that it's this 12th Street nearby, right?
Yep.
But if you want the 12th Street to be somewhere in like say Indiana or Pennsylvania, you can't just say 12th Street and expect the guy to know that it's from Pennsylvania or like some other state city, right? So that's what you use. That's where you use like the absolute paths with the forward slash, and so you can jump to like folders or directories that are not where you are at. Yeah, it's like teleporting. I wanted to say that first, bro, but I know I
So-
got you.
Vishnu, just a note, because of time, we'll have to do more of like an overview. So
Okay, everyone good with that? Any doubts?
all right.
Going once, twice, thrice? Yeah, okay. Creating and opening folders, right? Now, when you basically have your terminal, right? It's an empty world. So it's just planes and nothing. There's no cities. Remember I told you the cities and addresses? Nope, there's nothing, nada. So now you have to build your cities and streets and everything. That's what you're doing here. So think of your folders and directories as like your cities or whatever bigger you can have, or like a house, right? And then your files are like the rooms in the house or the building. So MKD, that's basically called short form for like make directory. That's your like a power tool. That means that means you want to build a house or something, or like a container to have all your files in there. So that's how you do it. Try that out. And then you can do multiple directories too if you read that. And then once you do those, right, try clicking on ls. That basically shows you. Remember I showed you in the like a file explorer, right, where you have all the files already shown. This doesn't show that. So you have to click ls to see all your like directories that currently exist.
Now you guys get to see my homework.
Uh-huh. And then so when you type ls, right, it prints out whatever files you have, like the list of all the folders or files you have in the current directory you are in. So you could try using a greater than symbol, and then you can, instead of like printing it out to the terminal, you can print it out to a file. So here you gave like an output.txt, right? If you do that, instead of printing out whatever is supposed to be the output of this, it's going to go into the text file. Now, now you have basically created a text file called output.txt that has all of this. Cat, it basically shows what are the contents of this. So that's like, you know, right clicking and creating a new file or a new text file, and it opens a notepad, you type it out, right? This is like a faster way of doing that without all the UI and the you know, other luxuries.
And for reference, this is called redirection. So what you're doing is redirecting, instead of printing to the standard output, you print to a file. And there are a couple different ways to do that. But if you need to look this up, that's what that's called.
Yep. Hence the arrow, you know, like you know, you're directing towards something else. So next we have like a echo, that, you know, basically whatever the name says, right? It just basically echoes whatever you want it to say. So you type echo and something, right? It's just gonna like print it out to you again back at you. So here, yep. See, when you type echo hello world, it just prints out hello world. It just echoes whatever you're saying, like basically mimicking you. You could also like if you wanted to like imagine this in this way, right? In a Windows, you open a notepad and then you type your text and you save it, right? Instead of doing that, you could just echo, type whatever you want in a like in between like the quotes, and then you can redirect it into a text file, and your text file is like filled with that contents. See? So if you want to like already, this is for like creating text files, new text files that don't exist already, right? If you want to like append extra content to this one, you can use double arrows. I mean, double greater than symbols. That's basically like an append. It basically inputs you know, output to the end of the file. Yeah, it's not fancy, but it's quick. Else, yeah, this one, right? Linux is like case sensitive, right? So having all these are not the same files. They're different. So you have to make sure you know, the file you're creating, and the file, maybe if you want to like, maybe you echoed it into like a all lowercase test.txt, right? And then you try to open a test.txt with test being all in the uppercase, it won't open the same file. Yeah. No. That's about it. And yeah, getting to file manipulation, right? Now that you have all the files, you know, all your buildings, all the rooms and cabinets with the files and everything. Now you want to move. You want to move somewhere else. You know, you don't like your house. This is how we do it. MV. It's called move command. So when you do this, right, what happens is like the combine.txt is moved to this directory. Yeah. Imagine you ever wanted to like, you know, just take your whole home and move to a different city. Yeah, this is that. And you know, if you read those, you can also do multiple. If you are rich enough to have like multiple homes, that's what you do, right? And then what else? Nested copying files. Yep. If you are more rich enough to have this both buildings to be of the same architecture and like look the same, you do that. Copy. Or like, you know, just you want two copies of a text file so you can edit it later. That's what you do. And then if you want to like change your address or your name, or change the name of your city, you do that. You could also use move command to change it to a new name. I know, bro. I know. Yeah. No one has any questions or anything? If I keep going, it's basically like reading, right? None? People are shy? Oh, thank you, bro. Uh, oh, remember I talked about like absolute paths and relative paths? So if you are in Cleveland and you say, come to this place, right? Or like build a house at 12th Street, the construction guy will go to 12th Street in Cleveland. You can't call him then say, oh, I said it's 12th Street in Pennsylvania, right? So you have to mention. How do you mention? It's your forward bracket. I mean forward slash. Okay. And yeah. So similarly to rename your directories, right? You give you a new name and that becomes a new name. What else? Oh, also one more thing. It's not all too bad. It has its own luxuries. Like if you already typed a command, right? You can use your up and down arrows to like move through your like history of commands. So you don't have to type the same thing again and again. Yeah, it ain't so bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's smart like that. Yeah, think of each. If people are like familiar with Java, right? Most of you guys are familiar, right? Think of it like each of your Linux terminals that you open as a session or an object. So basically, it has the same template, same way of behaving, but when you do the commands, right? The commands is like a separate history object or something. So it's different history objects for different sessions. Anything else? Yeah, deleting files. If you want to like just wreck your house, or be like Thanos and snap the half of your world, that's your command, right? Remove RM. You could this is basically like you're giving the path. You want to remove this file in so and so like directories. You're basically giving the address and telling the guide Thanos to go there and just snap the finger. No? Yeah. Bro, we're going too fast, bro.
We don't have much time.
So piping. So literally why it's called piping is like, when you use pipes, water goes from one place to other, right? Basically that's why it's called piping. So remember when you typed ls, right? It showed you some like content or like content of the directory, all right? So you could, with piping, you could pass the output of the left side of the pipe to the right side of the like pipe symbol. So it's similar to like redirecting, but a bit different. So WC is called like a count. Remember like all your like programming classes, your first assignment is numbers, count the number of letters. That's this. Yeah. Think of it as like word count or something. It just counts all the like contents of a particular directory or wherever you're at. Yes, control plus,
On
but not here though.
this is a good.
Oh, hold control and scroll. Scroll. Yes,
There you
yes,
go.
yes.
All right. So you
So-
went.
Is that too much or?
No, that's perfect. I think it's a bit more. Oh, no, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's
So do you guys see what happened? Like he so this is the text file, right? And unique this command, what it does is like it just considers only the unique parts of this content. So when you type this and pipe it to here, instead of like printing it out, it passes this output to unique and it checks if those two are unique or not, and then it only passes the unique elements. So imagine you had two hellos in the and two hellos and a word. It will just pass one hello and one word to word count. So and it would count those two, you will get two. Yeah. It's like you have think of commands are like as like function calls.
I will let you guys read through the rest of this because we're short on time. I want to get to the Git section. So we'll go over some of those things. It won't be exhaustive or anything like that. But
Good, guys? Any doubts?
Any
No?
questions?
We'll be leaving from this section. Okay? No?
Alright. Good.
Huh?
So just so
Hard-
you guys
Hard
understand,
class to impress.
Git, how many of you have heard of Git? Okay, do you know what it is? Okay, you wanna go?
All right, so now we're gonna go a little more into Git. As you can see here, I already had like a little description of why you want to use this and why it is important. First of all, if you're gonna go into any professional environment, you're gonna be using this like 100%. So you want to learn this. They don't teach you that much in school, but it's something, it's a tool that's super important for any type of work that you want to do. And it's also super useful with the personal projects or things you just want to save. So Git is also known as a virtual control system. It allows you to save changes and go back to those changes, technically taking a snapshot of your file system and then saving things as you go. So then you have something that you don't remember how you did in a past like snapshot. You can just go back and see everything that was going on there. Also, Git allows you to do some code collaboration. So whoever, like I know you guys had like a class where you had to work in a group project and you never knew how to code in the same space, a lot of people. So Git kind of allows you to do that. You can create a repo, which is like, that's what Git does, creates repositories, and you're able to access a code that is inside that repository. Then you, as like a group member, can take that code, start writing on it, and then submit it to wherever Git it is. We're gonna go more detail about that in like the next part. So, okay, so basically, really quick, how to start Git is very easy if you're using Linux or Mac. Mac OS has it for as default. So if you go into your terminal and press Git, you should receive some feedback back. If you receive, you press Git and there's not, like it says the command doesn't exist, then yeah, there you go. So if you type down that, you can see all the help that you can get from Git and all the possible options that you can use with Git. If it doesn't exist, it will tell you this command doesn't exist or something like that. For Windows, there's a link to the Windows installer. It's a little harder to do in Windows, just a little bit. It's, to be honest, just an .exe file that you have to compile, and then that's it. And then to know that you have installed it, you can type git version in the command line, and it should give you a version. If it doesn't, then it's installed incorrectly. Okay. Now,
Do you guys have access to this on your Linux terminal? You should, if it's on Grail or
Yeah.
through Google.
if you have access to Grail, you can. I think Grail or Spirit has Git
Yep.
by default installed in it. All right. So
Sorry, yeah, one question.
as long as you're seeing a version, that's perfect.
Git is a very stable tool.
Yeah.
It's been around for a long time and it's not, it's not gonna change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a good question.
That's good. Yeah, that should be good. All right. So now I'm gonna go through a little bit of the concept of Git, not how much of just using it, but the concept of Git. Okay. So as I told you before, we're gonna create a repository. That's where your code is gonna be living in. Okay. So your repository, think of it as a box where your code is. That's the main place where everything is gonna be. And as you work with people or as you want to change things, so let's say you want to work on someone else's code, but you want to ruin it. Let's say he's running his code in an app. And if you change something and you ruin it, you're ruining the app experience for everyone else, right? So you want to be able to change things without actually changing the main thing. So that's where branches come on. So I have a little drawing here. I'm not the best at writing or anything like that, but I hope this works. So your repository is going to have a main branch. You can call it main or master. this is gonna live in this like bubble here. That's gonna be your main thing. Everything's gonna be in there. From there, you can create branches. So you can create a branch, name whatever you want. You can see the commands here. You can use git checkout and then create a branch. And you can name it whatever you want. Usually people like it to name it either your name or whatever you're gonna be working on. Okay, so for example, if you're gonna add a menu on the app, you're gonna name it maybe my name is Fabio, so Fabio and then menu. Okay, so that way people know that that branch was used to work on the menu. So what are branches? Branches, you go, you create them, and then it's like a copy of the whole code in a different place, so you can change it without ruining the main code. So you can use commands like push and fetch. Fetch is to pull out everything that's in the main branch. And then you can use push to push whatever changes you did in your branch to the main branch. So there are some problems that happen with branches. So I have a group of 4 people, and then 3 of them are working on the same code. We're gonna have different branches, right? So branch 1 for Joe, branch 2 for Susan, for example. What happens if they change the same code? So I'm working on the menu and Susan's working on the menu too. But I have a copy of this in this branch and a copy of this in this branch. But these 2 codes are gonna be different. So that creates what's called a merge conflict. So when these 2 people are gonna push, it's gonna create a conflict because there are gonna be lines that are different and they're trying to push to the same line. So then Git gets a little more complicated because you have to like fix the conflicts, try to like see what works in this and what doesn't work in this, or what works in both, and try to implement both lines of code in different lines. Sometimes it can be a little annoying, but as long as you practice and as long as you like keep like messing with it, it gets easier and easier. You can scroll down. All right, staging. So you created your branch. You made changes. You changed 3 different files. Now you want to save those files, but you don't want to save them directly so you can push them. You want to save them. That's what staging is, like kind of like locally, so you can see what things you have changed before committing. We're gonna go about committing in the next step, but this is very important. You can use the git status to check what files you have changed. It will show up in red. And then whatever you stage is gonna be in green. And that's what's gonna be committed. So why do you wanna stage? Let's say you have you changed 3 files, but you just wanna push 2. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna stage 2 files, and the file that you wanna commit, you're just gonna leave outside. So then when you push to the main branch, just those 2 files are gonna go there, okay? And then committing. Committing is like taking a picture, a snapshot of your file directory. So whatever you have right now, whatever you have changed and staged, you're gonna commit. So you're gonna take a picture of it. That is what's gonna go to the main branch, to whatever you wanna like push, okay? So, yeah. So you're gonna use this command, git commit -m with the -m flag, and the description of your commit. A very important tip for your commit messages. So you know how you have a description of the commit here. You wanna use a description of what you work on and what have you changed. But you don't wanna use it. A lot of people say like, added a main menu. You don't want it to be in past, you want to be in present. So you can think of it as a command. So add a main menu. That way it's easier for people that are looking at those commits to see what you were doing and exactly have like a nice description. So this is how what's gonna look like. You have the main repo, your branch. So you added these files, right? So you're gonna commit this. So you stage these 3 files and you're gonna commit this. So this commit is gonna be made like at this date, and you with this like this description. This is one commit, and then you having a snapshot of the file structure also helps you to have a way to save things. So by committing, I'm already saving this in this commit. So next commit, I worked on a little link in the menu. So I added some extra files here. So if this happens, you're gonna create a new commit. And now this snapshot is the first commit, this snapshot is the second commit. So these two commits are gonna be pushed to branch. So whoever is the controller of the main repo is gonna be able to see these two commits. But the one that's gonna be used is the last one, okay? Any questions till now? I know I went through a lot really fast, but yes. Yeah, they are able to do that, but for good practice, you want the last commit to be the one that you want to push.
Right. Lewis, let me show you something. If you do git log, it actually shows a list of the previous commits. And then we can just get this hash. Let's see if the
This also helps
it
you,
did
like,
over this
let's
one.
say you have something here that completely breaks your code and you have no idea what's doing it. What you can do is just jump to a previous commit and start all over again without erasing the whole project. So you can just go back to a previous saved snapshot or like a previous save like structure of the files and just start working from there. That's why we recommend to commit a lot.
Oh,
So every time that you add new changes to your project, you can just go back to little stages of your project and not have to go back all the way up when you had nothing.
So if you guys see, I have one modified file here. Inside that file is just hello world. I have to commit this first. So git add dot just adds everything in this directory. That's usually what I do because I want to add all the changes that I've made. Then let's see, add text to A. That's the file name. And then, all right, so now that we have a commit, we can go back. So see, git log will show a list of our commits. I have add text to A here and then new changes. So if I want to go back, I believe you only need the first few letters of this commit hash. So a commit hash is just a unique string of random, it looks like random characters that is attached to your commit. So you get checkout, then let's check out. So BBA0 A6, that should be enough. Yep, so we're switched. We're now in a detached head state. So that means we're not at the front of all of our commits. Our commits kind of form this chain of, in the past, more recent, and then like the most recent change. We're now kind of back a commit. And if I do tab A, whoops, and tab, just so you guys know, tab is autocomplete. So if you ever like you're in the middle of a file name, just hit tab and see what comes up. All right, so you see that nothing came up. That means there's nothing in that file. So we are actually at that older state. To get out of this detached head state, which you can see in this message here, it actually shows you how to get back to the main version. We'll just do git switch in this dash, which they say so they provide, and now we're back on the master, the head of the master branch. You can create different branches and switch between branches. Those are different from a detached head state. This is just a method to look back in history. If you want to make new commits, you probably should make a new branch wherever you want that branch to start, but it needs to be a new branch so you can go back to that and push add new commits. Let's go ahead and add A, and yes, there's a text.
This is a good visualization of how everything would look like. So let's say this is the main repo. That's where it started. Imagine this as, have you ever, of you guys seen Loki? If you have, there's like a timeline. Imagine this is the timeline. So you have the present here, right? And then you created a branch. So this is gonna be your work. So whatever commits you add to your work is gonna show in a different kind of timeline, okay? And then someone else's code is gonna be here. That's where the merge conflicts get like a little confusing because maybe someone like pushed here and then you pushed after, so you have to like see the code. But this is what a good like visualization of like everything that's going behind the hood of like Git. So you can have like, this is the main project and you have your own branch where you work on it. And then you have another, someone else's branch that's working on it. And that's how you're going to be pushing. But this main branch is going to be like this main green circle is going to be the one that's going to be used. Like that's the main one, master. That's why it's called master.
There's one thing, because I know it's about 12:20. The clock here on the computer is totally wrong. I want to show you something really quick in regards to Git. So if you actually want to create a GitHub or a Git repository, you can use the command git init, which we'll add on the website. I think we missed that. You can also do this through GitHub. It's a popular way to host your Git code. I imagine many of you have heard of this. So this is my own account. You can just click new after you sign in. It's just like a normal website sign up process. Click new, and then you'll give it a name, public or private. If it's classwork, it probably has to be private, right? Because you can't share answers online. And then there are a couple options. I'm going to show you really quick what the process looks like. So let's see.
Yeah, we didn't go through creating an account because account is very intuitive. It
Yep.
basically gives you all the instructions to do it. But this is how you create a repo.
So I'll just leave. I won't create any, automatic files here. This is the page I wanted to show you guys. So it gives you a guide of how to start. If you have Git installed, then you can easily download this GitHub repo. I'm actually going to do this here.
So you created this Git repo on GitHub, and now you want to have it on your computer. So
Yep, and this is the quickest. Oh, did I create? Yeah, this is private. All right, one sec. I've got to make this public. It's public.
yeah, and something to note, we're going very quick through Git. We're thinking that these commands are going to be the ones that you're going to be using the most in
Yep.
personal projects or small projects. As long as you move on into the world of Git, it's going to get more complicated. We didn't want to go through all that because it's just so much. But this is a good starting point where you can start like hosting your own code in GitHub and having everything, saving, uploading, downloading everything to your own computer.
And I know we added a bit of stuff that's not on the website right now. We will try to get that updated so you guys can go back and use that as a reference.
Yeah.
If you guys ever have any questions, I mean, you can ask me now, you can ask on the Discord or email me or anything. Yeah.
Is Git on the Spirit server?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you guys would like more information about Git, for example, we would be happy to do a Git workshop as long as we have the people to do it. So if you're interested in this, we could definitely use some like feedback of, oh, I would need to know more about Git, and then we can make that happen.
And finally, if you're using Git for a project and you get stuck or something is kind of messed up, if you ever want to schedule a one-on-one session with one of us, I know some of us are more familiar or less familiar with Git. I think Fabio, is that something you could probably
Yeah.
help with? Yeah.
definitely,
So, how many of you know how to sign up for a CPT one-on-one session? Okay, good, Vishnu. I'm glad you do. Let me show you guys really quick because it's actually a really nice process. So we have quick links. CPT booking. This link is also it's all over the place. It's in your syllabi, hopefully. It's also on the Discord server. So enter, redirect to a booking page. Then let's say I'm doing an assignment in C, but I really do need help with Git. I'm going to, this thing says select staff. Go from anyone to just Fabio, who's not available, but that's just today. On this account, this calendar, click here, select a time that works for you, and then put your name, all of that. And then in the special request, just say, I need help with Git. Does that make sense? And then we'll know, better how to prepare or help you, especially if you give us more details about what's specifically going on. Say you messed up the Git history and you can't figure out how to get it back into a normal state. We can help you with that. Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
All right, I think it's time. Thank you very much for showing up, and feel free to stick around to ask some more questions.